Hello and welcome to today's webinar. In this webinar, we'll talk about AI. So I'm sure you're thinking, again, AI? Well, in this one, we will share two things that are unusual. One, we will tell you that actually most of the manufacturing company, when they are thinking about AI, they are not thinking about the right thing. And second thing, really talk about AI for manufacturing. So if you are producing yogurt or if you are selling, cream, you can go away. You won't be satisfied by what I'm talking about. So again, we want to be very specific to manufacturing. Could be automotive, could be heavy equipment, could be pharmaceutical, but we really want to stay in this sphere, in this area of like companies building stuff. So again, a huge thank you for being here. The title of this webinar is really like manufacturing companies are missing the real AI opportunities. That's really what we want to cover in the next 40 minutes. So before we go too far, who am I? My name is Fabien Cros. I'm the founder of SparkWise Solutions by Ducker Carlisle, and I'm also the Chief Data and AI Officer for Ducker Carlisle. And before that, I started my career in the US, in Detroit, working for Accenture in their manufacturing practice, of course. Then I moved back to Europe, joined a startup at the time specialized in data and AI, when it was not sexy at all. And from like 50 people to 200 people, scaling a lot with Microsoft and Google in Europe. We sold the business. And at the time, Google asked me to join them to develop their in-house capabilities around data and AI for manufacturing. So that's what I've done. So in this webinar today, I will talk about what we are doing at SparkWise Solutions, but especially I will talk about what I've done at Google, or the example that I've seen, but also what I've seen before Google in the first startup I joined. In terms of agenda, so what we have in mind, it's really like to start with, there is a lot of misconceptions. There is a lot of like BS on LinkedIn, online. I mean, that is just ridiculous. So we'll talk about that. Then we'll really talk about where to start. I think that's a massive pain point today in the manufacturing world, and we will give you a bunch of examples to really inspire you to move forward, to take decisions, to invest in this space. And then we'll keep some time for open QA. So AI, I think it's again AI, that's the buzzword. But I think too many people are getting obsessed with LLMs. Like, oh, we've seen that with DeepSeek. Oh my God, DeepSeek, blah, 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 another LLM. Well, for me, LLMs are becoming a commodity. And I think, honestly, yes, it's a nice progress. It's not that new. It's coming from a research paper from the Google lab called Transformers. And by the way, T of GPT is Transformer. So that's really kind of like the foundations. Going from 2017, it's not that new. We will see new LLM every 2 weeks, probably, in the next couple of years. So that's really not the innovation. I think the innovation is really what you see on the slide here. So yesterday, when you had a business problem as a manufacturing company, you had two options. You could buy a software, you buy Salesforce, buy a PIM, you buy a RIM, or you can build one. So buying, the problem, it's expensive. It's taking a lot of OPEX, but it's easy and simple. Building is like, it will take 2 years. That's not usually the core skill set of a manufacturing to develop their own software. I think we've seen that with a couple of automotive brands that try to become kind of like, like a center for developers, and they failed because really that's not the specialty. But what is very interesting is AI is opening a new option, which is the middle one, the AI-enabled bespoke solution, kind of a hybrid. So it's really creating an agent, not a software, not a solution, an agent. And this is really interesting because what does that mean concretely for a manufacturing company? It's like before, when you were actually creating a software, you had to list like thousands and thousands of rules, because when you ask a software, give me the sun, it's giving you a circle and it's yellow. That's a sun. Well, an agent is way more complicated than that. The agent is really like based on decision making. It's okay, the sun, it's something that is moving, that is taking decision, that is kind of acting. That's really like an agent. And when you think about like those AI-enabled companies, you can see on the slide, I mean, it's really impressive. It's what we are seeing is like all those companies that are truly AI enabled, they have very few people. I mean, like 15, 20, 50 people max. And they are already huge. I mean, they scale super fast. And that's really kind of the trick. The trick is really the capability of creating very fast a solution and to scale it super fast is really embedded into the AI technology. So as a manufacturing group, I think that's what the real opportunity is, creating your own agent. It's really giving, you don't need to invest, billions. You really need to be precise to know what you want. And then the technology will really help you to achieve what you want to. You can do massive amount of savings by replacing solutions, softwares, existing ones that are not, perfectly matching your requirements. And you can actually open a bunch of new opportunities by looking at business problems and saying like, hey, now we can build our own solution. Need to rely on a provider that might be too expensive or might be too complicated or might be too simple. You can really create your own custom tool. Again, what does that mean for a manufacturing company? It really means that what used to take months, now it takes weeks. And I like to show this video. We've done that for a manufacturing client, and they have a lot of data, and they wanted to have kind of like an analytics agent able to tell them, the big numbers, the margin, the sales, the breakdown by, dealers, by distributors, the margin by SKU, those kind of things. Usually it's kind of the intern of like a person dedicated to that, doing all the work in Excel. It takes a huge amount of time of low value added task, but you need to do it. While now the machine is much more precise. The machine is, going way deeper than the human because, it's the computational power is really cheap compared to a human. And then the beauty is you can reallocate those humans into high value added tasks like, hey, why this dealership is struggling or why this dealership is doing so great. Can we learn? Can we call them? Can we spend time with them? Can we scale what we've learned with the other like dealers? That's really what the technology is enabling today. You can see, so you are saving a lot of time because now the technology is way faster. You can generate codes in a couple of like minutes. You can really scale down the cost of like any technology. So that's really what we see, like agent that used to cost millions, now they cost like a few $100,000s. And this one is an example for like a spare part, but you can see it's like the machine is able to extract the data to understand the SKU, the part number, and then is able to generate a lot of part description, like dozens of part description. Could be one for your website, one for your supplier, one for your procurement, one for your technician. I mean, you can really imagine like being extremely precise on who is reading this description and creating almost like a personalized version of this description of the part. And then you can see it's not just description, it's, the part information, the features, the material, the supplier, a lot about tariff. That's really something that can be covered. Now, when a lot of clients are asking us like, yeah, but I mean, I don't get it. Is it like using ChatGPT? No, it's completely different. It's really creating your own agent. So your own agent will be connected to your data. It will be embedded into your own IT. So it's completely secure. No data will go outside of your silo, your architecture. So it's completely secure, way more secure than using ChatGPT. And how different is it from ChatGPT? We may sometimes use the same LLM, so the same kind of technological foundation, but actually the way we'll set that up will be completely custom to your company. So it could be, heavy equipment, could be, industrial, oil and gas. It's really like we will embed all these specificities from your industry into this tool. So that's really the big difference with, just using ChatGPT. Now, if we go one step further to explain, you can see, I mean, like we've created like an account payable AI agent. So it's really like, hey, I'm struggling as a manufacturing company. I have, hundreds of like suppliers, like thousands of contracts to manage. And when I receive an invoice, I never know if it's correct or not, or if there is a mistake or not, et cetera, et cetera. So we've created this AI agent able to get the data from all those contracts, make sure that the new invoice coming in is matching the contract. And when it's not, it's labeled, and we create kind of an alerting system. And then we are making sure that it's addressed and corrected very quickly. This kind of solution is like savings, millions to our client. Then, we've created our own CRM. We are a startup, so we cannot afford, a sales force for like to $150K a year. So we really said like, okay, well, we'll use our own CRM developed by ourselves. And you can see, I mean, it's, it's not the prettiest CRM ever, but I mean, it's doing the job. And we developed that in a couple of weeks. It cost us a couple of dollars every month to maintain and to drive. We've redeveloped whatever we wanted. It's really bespoke, all the information we want to see, all the information we don't want to see. I mean, it's really, really impressive. And then we can go even further for some clients. We are creating actually their own PIM, their own RIM. It's really like creating bespoke solutions, especially like solutions that used to be super expensive. We've seen a lot of clients, especially like middle markets, where it's too expensive for them. So either they still spend the money, but they are very happy because it's too complex very often. So they are really struggling because it's like, we need this solution. This solution is too complex, too expensive, but there is no small solution, big, like good enough for us. So that's really what we're doing. We're creating, this, very bespoke solution for our clients. And then this one is probably my favorite. So we had one client in the mobility space who is saying like, hey, I cannot afford, investing into a very expensive pricing software, but man, I have so many SKUs to price. I don't know how to do it. And we've developed like pricing AI agent. And you can see on the video here, we just give the picture to the machine. The machine is able actually to extract data from the picture, to look for information like internal databases and on external data sources. And you can see the model is like picking up all the information, creating a description. For the demo, it's like we made it simple, but we could have imagined having like a dozen of different like SKU description, product description. So very, very good. And then the machine is able to look for like benchmark data, like finding the right competitor, making sure that they are comparing Apple with Apple. So this one is a good example because a filter, sometimes it's a charcoal feature for bad smell. And then you cannot compare that with a normal filter. So you need, the machine was smart enough to say, okay, be careful with those filters. They are a little bit different. So they should be more expensive or less expensive. And then you can see at the end, it's giving you kind of like a very transparent like explanation of like, here is the new price, here is why it should be priced, at this amount. And that was really, game changing for our clients. So it's really to give you a flavor of what the technology is enable us to create. So we talked about kind of like the misconception around AI. Before we go on the next section, I really want to take a step back to really like explain where AI is coming from. And that will help you understand all the fake news around the AI. So is AI the new metaverse? I get this question all the time. Well, you can see from my former colleagues at Google, this is clearly, very different than metaverse in terms of like interest and impact. And then a lot of people are thinking, oh, AI, it's kind of new. Well, no, it's the past decade working in AI, it's not new at all. You can see on the trend, actually, AI is around since the 1960s. It's not new at all, but ChatGPT really made AI like kind of like appeared in the general public mind. And that's really what happened. Like overnight, we became like very demanded, I would say. We need to keep in mind that AI is really part of this, again, like optimization, like movement that happened in the 60s, and then the automation. We talked about RPA, etc., then artificial intelligence, machine learning, neural network, and now generative AI. I love this slide from Google because I think this one is very clear. So you have this, what we call discriminative AI, which is really like translating a business problem into an equation. And that's really like machine learning, deep learning, neural network. That's really what's happening. It's really, I have this problem, I translate that into a mathematical problem, and that's the output. So a lot of opportunity there, but that's not new. And for a long time, we have a lot of experience around that. Then generative AI, coming from like 2017, our research lab at Google created the transformers. And that's really like the building block of generative AI, which is really like creating from an input, creating an output that is completely different and could be, word, could be text, could be images, could be videos, could be anything. And I think that's really the transformative power of generative AI. So that is new. And I think that's where a lot of ideas are appearing as well. Now, if there is one slide to remember, what you see here, it's a playground of OpenAI. So you are using that, but that's kind of like the developer platform of OpenAI with ChatGPT. And what I like about this slide is you can really see what's going on in the background. You can see the color code, and when it's green, it means the probability of the next word is very high. When it's red, it means the probability is very bad. And that's really what's going on. So what ChatGPT is doing, it's if I saying the sky is, there is a 98% chance that blue is the answer. Well, the transformer concept is really, if I'm telling you we are in Paris, it's November, the sky is, there is a high chance, a high probability that the answer will be great. That's really what ChatGPT is doing and what those LLMs are doing. They are computing those probabilities, next word for the full sentence, full paragraph, etc., and they optimize those probabilities. When you understand that, you understand generative AI, and you understand all the problems and all the opportunities. You understand hallucination. Hallucination is not something strange or like enigmatic. No, it's just a mathematical result of something. Maybe the model, they don't have the information, so they hallucinate because, again, they give you like the best probability. It doesn't mean that it's true. It just means it's the best probability. You can understand all the bias now of like the training set. Train it in a way you can, alter reality based on probability. So that's, really important to keep in. And then the kind of like underlying structure of generative AI is this vector database, which is really like a 3D representation of the world with vectors, and each kind of like topic is represented in 3 dimensions, and that's how the mathematical model is actually finding the quickest path from one word to another, how you compute that. So every time you are using AI, you are creating those kind of vector database. And again, so that's really the value for any manufacturing company. If you want something very relevant for your business, you need to create your own vector database, or you need to feed this third database. Now, in terms of opportunity, I love this slide because that's really kind of like giving you a glance of like the opportunity. So if you are telling me, I'm in the agriculture business, or I'm in the metal business, or I'm in the distribution business, and I want to create my own chips and hardware, there is a high chance that it might not work. But if you want to go into like the data and AI orchestration, if you want to become a data provider and monetize your data, if you want to create application, if you want to create services, there is a huge potential to go into this space. The service, I love this one because if you take Schneider Electric, for example, they move to servitization quite fast. And I think they really leverage this, technological transformation to reposition the brain to like more service. And I think that should be a good inspiration for most of you, because creating services is really a new revenue stream. Sometimes it's higher margin, so it could be a huge opportunity. And, for example, I've seen a lot of like, manufacturing company in power sport, in automotive, in heavy equipment, they start actually to create services for their dealers, and they can monetize that. And it's a very virtuous cycle because, for example, I created like a lead factory where you have the free lead coming from the manufacturer with kind of very limited information. And then they've created another service, which is enriching a lot of those leads, like everything about like what happened online, the online behavior. If we have any information from the past, we can analyze the deep code. We can really go super deep to the point where we can personalize kind of like the marketing material. You are living, in the city, or you are living outside of the city. We can change the background of like the car, the machine that you look at, which is really interesting and super powerful. So that's what I wanted to share really about like the misconception around AI. Now, I've got this question all the time, which is, where can I start? This is a super important question, especially because I think and I think the numbers are crazy. I think like 4% of the companies worldwide today are extracting massive amount of value from AI. So 96% of the company are failing. And when we look at, what happened, it's actually quite simple. But when you think about human, if you ask, and I've seen that a lot at Google, like if you ask lawyers, like, hey, just implement AI, that's great. And they will tell you like, well, if I implement AI, I'm just kind of like killing my own job. So why I would do that? So it's all about incentive. And that's really what we see today. We see a lot of companies very top down say, yeah, we will implement AI. It's going to be great. And the reality is like everybody below them are like pushing back saying, no way, I don't want to lose my job. Because again, we are using, especially in manufacturing, we are using incentive concepts for incentives. So it's really like if you want to go up, you need to have a big team below you. you. So you need to manage a lot of people. And, if you apply AI here, it's not working because there is no way by having a leaner team that you would get promoted. So there is no incentive actually to implement AI at scale. So that's really what we see when we look at, who are very successful. They are doing those three things. They focus on top line growth, and I will explain why. They reimagine incentives, and actually they completely change their data asset structure. If we look at top line growth, why top line growth is so important, it's coming back to incentives. If I go see engineering and say, hey, implement AI, oh yeah, well, I will lose my job, so why I would implement AI? Fair enough. But if you go see sales, you say, hey, I will give you access to bespoke tools, and with those tools, you will sell more, so you will create more money for the company. But by selling more, you will make more money. And it's always a win-win, and I think that's where we've seen a lot of success. It's like sales teams are like, yeah. And then you have this ripple effect, because when sales are like, yeah, it's great, look, I'm selling more, I'm more efficient, I'm making more money, I think that's the ripple effect of other department saying, yeah, well, actually, me too, I would love to try that. I mean, you can really see the benefit of, cracking that down with the sales team. And that's really what we've seen. I've implemented AI before anyone else because we had access to this technology before, most of companies. And we really, change and move the needle by aligning incentive structure and actually creating a move where we went away from product to client centricity. So I don't want to want one product or this other product or this product line. I want GM to be successful. I want Ford to be successful. And then whatever we sell, I will benefit from the sales. Then we transform the tooling where, you don't need to input data into your tools. It's really your tools giving you access to recommendation, coaching you. And that's really where you grow. It's when tools are working for you, are not working in your tool. And then self-service was a great way because really the incentive was to really move away from human interaction to make it easy for clients to invest. And then you will benefit from your clients investing into this self-service. So that was really a great case. And you can see on the number on the bottom left, it's we really found a way to decorrelate the number of FTE and the growth. So we reduce actually our workforce, but we continue to grow. We kept growing. So that's really what you are expecting. It's really decorrelating the two. Incentives, you can really see the two ends of the spectrum. You can really see Klarna that are really, and they say, if you replace your team members with AI, you get the paycheck. So yeah, very aggressive with paycheck, but makes total sense. And it was very efficient. Then you have Google in the middle, mindful about, the incentives and restructuring their team to be leaner and more effective. And then that's something when Ducker Carlisle invested in SparkWise Solutions and we became part of Ducker Carlisle family, we created this AI champion program. So we didn't really pay people to implement AI, a way to learn, a way to grow, a way to develop their career path with AI. And I think it was very successful because it gave them the opportunity to implement AI and to have a strong incentive to do so because they understood that, I'm a consultant in supply chain and pricing, but if I do this program, I will become a pricing consultant and an AI strategist. I will become a supply chain consultant and an AI strategist. So that was really the incentive. The incentive was really to nurture the workforce, to give them access to new opportunities. And then the last one, again, so I think for manufacturing company, the first two are very simple. Okay, start with sales, and change your incentives, create new incentive structure to implement AI. This one is a little bit trickier because it's a little bit more complex because it's a work between your data and your IT team. When we look at our clients today, usually what we see, it's we see business users using, software or custom solutions, complaining that, those software and custom solutions are not working and blaming IT because actually those rely on the company data lake. And then the IT team is blaming the business user that it's not working because actually all the data dump they are doing inside the data lake, they don't care, they don't control it and they don't govern it. So it's and I think both are right in a sense. So it's nobody's wrong here. It's just the reality of the thing. If we want to be successful with AI, we need to completely change the organization around data and AI. And that's really pivoting IT into more the enabler of the company to giving tools, giving solutions, giving infrastructure for the business team. But then business team taking control of their own data platform and all like the software and AI agents. So now kind of like you have your own data platform, you own and you are responsible for the data quality, for the data governance. So you have of the data that is inside the data platform. And now the beauty of it, you can create your own agent based on those data. And then you can choose to have third-party software. You can choose to make the third-party software talk with your custom AI agent. You can see some departments choose not to have third-party software anymore. Some decide to, do quite the opposite. But the beauty is like you are kind of like really making like a federal organization, kind of like the US or kind of like Germany. It's like, everybody has his own like responsibility. And then we share like the federal government where, it's giving us access to, like health services or stuff like that, military security, those kind of things. So it's the same thing applied to data and AI, which is went a little bit further than the traditional data mesh infrastructure, because now with the AI, you are responsible of the AI agent. So you are really like IT is the enabler, giving you access to framework, giving you access to machines, to servers. And then, the business team is responsible to really create bespoke solution that makes sense from a business point of view. So that's really kind of like the situation on like where to start. To sum up, you start with sales, you show the value, and then you reimagine the incentives, and then you change completely the mindset around data and IT organization. Now, why to do it? So I think this slide is quite obvious for traditional manufacturing company between 150 to 100 and 300 million. That's typically what we see, like a $25 million a year uplift, like additional revenue. And you can see you don't get the 25, like overnight. It will take time, but you can actually just by going into like the quick wins, you can do like AI experimentation and AI integrated operation. That's $580K a month. So if you are not sure to invest, or if you take time to invest because you want to be sure, I think this slide should convince you that the opportunity of AI is enormous. And we've seen some success from like huge companies and smaller companies. So really, that's kind of the business case. I think it's really worth investing in this space. Now, if we take more like specific examples, what you can see here, it's like a massive global OEM where in one country, we're able actually to drive 32 million revenue uplift. And it was really about digital marketing using AI to be better in defining the segment, the audiences, and to improve remarketing, especially in a world where electrical cars and ICE cars are, in parallel. So it's very hard to do an effective marketing. So AI in marketing, huge value. Then we talked about starting with sales. So that's what we've done with this aerospace company. So we drove like a $36 million additional revenue by embedding AI into the RFP team and processes. Again, massive impact for this team. And really the value is coming from the fact that so the RFP team, they had a bunch of people and they were spending 80% of their time actually like copy pasting slides, looking for information, trying to understand the RFP. So we automated all of that so we could reallocate all of those team members into really driving the sales and moving the needles. So we were able to increase by 20% the win rate, and that's really where this $36 million impact is coming from. So at the end, it's really what we see, reallocating and repositioning sales teams where they have impact. So this one is different industry. It's for a BPO company. We doubled the win rate by creating this lead factory. And this one was really interesting because when you think about that, usually they just get a lead and the lead is like, like an email or a phone number and like the name of the company. So we really use AI to enrich significantly from external data sources and internal data sources. And we were able to really send a package to the sales team. And with some clients, we went up to like personalized marketing. So if they are living in a city or if they are living like on the countryside, we would change the background. We would change like the ethnicity in the US, those kind of things. So we were very, very efficient and the impact is huge. I mean, we doubled the win rate for the B2B sales team. So huge impact financially. And then on this one, more like traditional manufacturing, it's really like how many times, you are, managing like heavy equipment, machines. So your clients are going to the dealership, they want a part, they want an accessory, and you don't have that in store. So you are missing the sale. So what we've done, we really like use AI to really fine tune the segmentation of the dealers to reassess the inventory completely. And that's where we actually stopped like an 8-figure revenue leakage. So it was a global OEM, so the scale was actually huge for this program, but you can see the impact of such like a very targeted use case around AI. And then we've seen a lot of successes, across the board with those kind of like AI business analysts. And I think we covered that at the beginning, but you can imagine actually really having significant impact here. Now, again, this one, the AI pricing agent is really my favorite. I mean, we've seen so many teams either making, like additional revenue by doing better pricing using this kind of agent, or saving a ton of money by replacing their existing, very expensive pricing software and solutions. So we really see, the impact on the top line and on the bottom line using AI. And especially if you're in manufacturing and if you have spare parts, it's a lot of spare part. It's complicated. It's very narrow. It's very specific. So actually having an AI agent bespoke, custom made just for your business is super efficient. And on this one, it took us actually a couple of weeks to build that. So it was very inexpensive for our client to tap into this kind of technology. So that's the end of like the section 3. So again, we have so many cases where we've implemented AI and we've seen, crazy amount of like growth and additional revenue coming from our implementation. I think a lot of failures are coming from non-expert people implementing AI. They watch like 5 YouTube videos and now on LinkedIn, they are like AI strategists or AI experts. I think that's a problem because they have no clue what they are doing. But if you are working like true experts and professionals, they will drive significant amount of value for your organizations. So now I wanted to keep a couple of minutes to really kind of like get your questions or, like any clarification you might need. Yeah, so this one is interesting. So I have a question about the operating model. So someone is asking like, how do we work with, like AI firms like SparkWise? So our operating model is completely different. I was at Accenture before. So we don't do like, huge transformation. I think that's not in the essence of AI. I think AI, it's really like a bunch of like agile, very quick projects. Yeah. So for example, here you can see what we are doing a lot. It's what we call this AI lighting strike, where, week 0, week 1, we really like sit down at the burning platform, pick your problem. And then like for 3 weeks, we pick, like every week we pick one use case and we do a prototype. We do the business case. We estimate the cost. So at the end of the month, you have all your use cases where you can apply AI, all the use cases where it's useless to implement AI. And then we pick the top 3 and we really deep dive and have a prototype. So we can really tell you how much is it, how much value you will get from a use case, the roadmap, the architecture, etc., etc. And for some clients, instead of picking like 3 use cases, we just pick one and we say we just implement. Like, do you want to create your own PIM? Okay. We create your own PIM in a couple of weeks. Or you to create your own CRM, you want to create your pricing tool, etc., etc. So it's really like, working super fast, being very sharp, starting with a problem. I think that's a very important message that I wanted to give today. Pick your problem, and a lot of companies are doing AI just because it's shiny and cool, and that's why they are, failing miserably, because AI is a tool. It's not like a silver bullet. So start with a problem and use AI as a tool. That's super important. Yeah, so this one is interesting for for engineering, and actually that's one of the things that we do for free. It's like we do like this find the best AI use case program where we just show up and we do a couple of interviews, couple of follow-ups, and then we give you kind of like the best, use case. And then we give you a price, like a quote, and then you decide if you want to move forward or not. But if you are struggling to find the right use case, we can help. And this is a very good example. Someone is asking me so my team is working with a lot of like CAD file, like 3D file. Do you see AI? And actually, yes, I've seen a lot of research. When I was at Google, we did a lot of research in this space, and actually 3D files are becoming extremely popular, and we see a lot of tools coming from like prompt to 3D file and then interaction between 3D files. So yeah, I strongly suggest let's keep in touch. I'm not saying that the technology is perfect yet, but we've seen a lot of like progress and research paper in this space. So I'm ready to bet that there is something we can do in this space for sure. All right. Well, it's time for me to say thank you. Thank you for your time. Thank you for watching. Hopefully it was useful. Hopefully you learned something during this webinar. Feel free to reach out if you have any questions. I'm always happy to talk about AI. I think you got that. You can contact us using this email, sparkwise@duckercarlisle.com. You can contact me using my email. It's fcross@duckercarlisle.com. You can add me on LinkedIn. You can send me an email. Happy to talk about it. We've seen a lot of opportunities in the manufacturing world. We know a lot about manufacturing with our friends at Ducker Carlisle. My team has worked a lot in the manufacturing space. We are passionate about it. So hopefully we will find a way to work together. A huge thank you. Feel free to reach out and be well. Bye-bye.